When you're finding the median, remember that this is the middle value of sorted data when you cut data directly in half. Since you are cutting a data set in half, the middle value is not affected by outliers, since you are placing a specific number of values to the left and values to the right of the median. For your mode, this is the value or values that occur the most number of times in your data set. It's easiest to find these or identify them when your data is already sorted. When you're looking at the median and the mode, you're not going to use any rounding rules. You're going to use the exact value that is calculated. For example, when finding the median, sometimes you will have the exact value from your data set. However, sometimes when you're doing that calculation, you may create a decimal, which you will use that exact value of. However, when you're finding the mode, because you're simply looking at the data values you have and identifying which one occurs the most number of times, there is no rounding. You're using just simply what you see. In either case, you're going to use that value and include units. So let's look at an example where we're going to use our list feature, our sort feature, and use those to find the mean, median, and mode of a data set. So in this example, we have amounts of caffeine that are measured in milligrams per 12 ounces. And so we looked at different brands, and here are some examples: 7-Up, Monster, Gatorade, etc. And we are asked to find the mean, median, and mode for this sample data. First, enter this data into the list feature of your calculator. Next, I'm going to write down exactly what I'm using in my calculated feature, which is my 1-var stats. And then identify what is in my list. This is an amount of caffeine in milligrams per 12 ounces. So here I've entered my data into a calculator into list 2. So I'm going to write that on my paper so I don't forget. Now I'm going to calculate. Remember, I need to tell the calculator that my data is being held in list 2, so second and 2. Then I can press enter. At the top of my screen, I see X bar with a lot of decimals. My rounding rule is one place more than the data given, and since my data given is to the nearest whole number, I need to round this to one place more, which is to the nearest tenth. That means that for my median, I'm going to use the variable notation X bar since this is sample data, and then round the value I see on my calculator to 92.4 and add my units. This value is caffeine in milligrams per 12 ounces. Now I can find my median. My median is part of my 5-number summary. I need to be able to use my down arrow to scroll through and find my median value. On my screen, I can see that the median is 82. This 82 represents 82 milligrams per 12 ounces of caffeine. Again, remember there is no rounding rule, so I'm just going to use 82 exactly the way I see it. Now to be able to find my mode, I'm going to need to sort my data. Once I have my data sorted, I can go into the list feature and look for any values that are written the most number of times. So notice that I'm first looking at, I see 2 zeros. I'm going to use my down arrow and see if there are any other values that are listed more than 2 times. As I get down to the bottom, I notice that 200 is listed 3 times. This is the one value that is listed the most number of times, and that is going to be considered my mode. So my mode is 200 milligrams per 12 ounces of caffeine.